Ever find yourself staring down into a bucket of fast food chicken on a Friday night, nursing a weirdly greasy finger and an even weirder sense of regret? You remember how it used to feel. Growing up in America, getting a family meal deal from Kentucky Fried Chicken felt like a legitimate event. You had the warm biscuits, the tub of mashed potatoes with that iconic brown gravy, and the smell of 11th-hour spices filling up the minivan on the drive home. It didn't just feel like dinner, it felt like a triumph. But if you've pulled through a drive-thru recently at any local spot, whether it's a standalone joint or a combined KFC Taco Bell Express, you already know there is a massive chasm between that golden childhood memory and the soggy, shrinking reality that lands in your lap. We wanted actual answers about why America's most famous chicken chain feels like a shadow of its former self. So, we started digging. What we found goes a lot deeper than just your taste buds getting older or harder to please. We are talking about birds engineered so drastically that they reach full market weight in just over a month, growing at a rate so aggressive their own internal organs struggle to keep pace. We are talking about the actual inventor of the recipe, the real Colonel Sanders, whose face is still slapped on every single bucket, spending his final years absolutely furious in public about what corporate suits did to his life's work. We are talking about a marketing machine that actively alienates its most loyal, traditional consumers. And underneath all of that, we are looking at an American franchise system so financially squeezed that major operators are quietly breaking down behind the scenes. By the time we finish this investigation, you will find out the hidden reason why your delivery orders almost always arrive looking like a sad, pale puddle. I will show you the exact industrial flavor chemistry that corporations use to trick your brain into craving sodium overload, and we will break down the structural collapse happening behind those red and white striped menu boards. Most importantly, if you stay with me until the very end, I am going to show you the single most shocking piece of data regarding how much corporate cost-cutting has eroded the actual weight of the food you pay for, and precisely which local alternatives you should be supporting instead to get real, honest quality for your hard-earned dollar. After this, you will know more than 90% of shoppers standing in line. Before we name the specific culprits, we need to talk about how the modern poultry industry actually functions. Because you cannot understand how your dinner became garbage without understanding the blueprint. Think of a natural, heritage chicken like a classic, well-built family sedan. It takes time to assemble, moves at a reasonable pace, and its chassis is perfectly proportioned to handle its engine. The modern factory-farmed bird, however, has been selectively bred over decades to operate like a top-fuel dragster designed exclusively for meat production. The industry has re-engineered these animals to maximize the breast meat, the high-value cut, at a speed that defies basic biology. When you rush a biological organism to mature at triple its natural speed, the structural integrity of the product crumbles. It is the exact same principle as building a house in 2 days instead of 2 months. The drywall cracks and the foundation warps. In the food world, this hyperacceleration creates a phenomenon known to food scientists as white striping and woody breast syndrome. The muscle fibers grow so fast they literally run out of blood supply, causing the tissue to degrade and get replaced by fat and tough fibrous tissue. To hide this structural defect, the fast food industry relies on heavy processing. If the meat itself lacks natural moisture and flavor because the bird didn't live long enough to develop them, corporations have to pump it full of chemical binders, water weight, and heavy sodium solutions just to make it chewable. They treat the protein like a sponge, inflating it with liquid so that when you buy it by the bucket, you are heavily paying for engineered water weight. Every step of this process is designed to optimize corporate margins while sacrificing the actual substance of what ends up on your plate. Let us start with the raw reality of what is actually landing on your tray at KFC. Because long before that bird ever hits the commercial pressure fryer, the corporate system has skimped out spectacularly. The standard chicken moving through most of their US supply chain comes from industrial broiler breeds engineered to put on weight at an unsustainable pace. We are talking about birds reaching full market weight in roughly 35 to 40 days, while a slower-growing, traditional heritage breed takes more than double that time. The animal's skeleton and heart simply cannot keep up with the ballooning weight of the breast meat, a documented animal welfare and quality crisis highlighted by groups like the Humane League and the ASPCA. If you have noticed that your extra crispy breast piece looks oddly misshapen, texturally rubbery, or noticeably smaller than what you remember from a decade ago, you are not imagining it. Back in the late 2010s, a massive push across the fast food landscape saw major brands pledging to adopt the Better Chicken commitment by 2026 to transition to slower-growing breeds. Well, here we are in 2026, and corporate accountability has quietly vanished behind a wall of supply chain excuses, with executives claiming that industry-wide availability is a massive issue. Yet, during the exact same financial quarters that corporations claim they cannot afford better bird welfare, head office is busy celebrating record-breaking same-store sales growth, usually driven by some temporary, heavily marketed gimmick like pickle-flavored sauces or limited-edition celebrity meal boxes. They will happily brag about marketing metrics on an earnings call while quietly sidelining basic food quality promises. If you already feel like checking your own local drive-thru receipt after hearing that, hit that subscribe button right now, because the corporate rabbit hole gets significantly worse from here. Let us talk about the absolute legend whose face is still used to sell every single bucket in America. Colonel Harlan Sanders. He finalized his original recipe of 11 herbs and spices back in 1940 at a small roadside restaurant in Corbin, Kentucky, and eventually sold the corporate entity in 1964. For the remaining years of his life, he stayed on as a paid brand ambassador, and he spent a massive chunk of that time being completely, utterly furious in public about what corporate cost-cutting had done to his food. In a blistering 1978 interview that sent corporate lawyers into a total panic, the Colonel publicly declared that the gravy being served under his name was horrible, claiming the company had cheapened the process into a mix of tap water, flour, and starch that tasted like pure wallpaper paste. He did not stop there. He openly described the fried chicken itself as little more than a fried dough ball slapped onto an overprocessed piece of meat. The corporate squeeze was so intense that a franchise owner in Bowling Green, Kentucky, actually tried to sue the Colonel for defamation for trashing his own brand. Think about that. The man who invented the recipe could not even stomach what the corporate machine had turned it into, decades before the modern era of hyper-processing even began. This brings us directly to the modern consumer scam, the absolute erosion of the value proposition. The classic bucket was introduced decades ago as a genuinely affordable, high-quality way to feed an entire working-class American family. Today, a standard 8-piece meal can easily run you anywhere from $22 to nearly $30 depending on your zip code, Walmart proximity, or whether you are ordering in a major metropolitan hub. That is a price hike that wildly outpaces general consumer price inflation. When you break down the cost per serving, you are paying premium restaurant prices for a product that has been chemically manipulated to artificially inflate its weight. According to published nutritional and allergen data, the fresh chicken pieces are injected with and marinated in a heavy brine containing high concentrations of sodium phosphate and monosodium glutamate. Sodium phosphate's primary industrial job is to force the muscle tissue to retain excessive water. When you buy that bucket by weight, a massive percentage of what you are paying for at the register isn't extra meat. It is engineered tap water locked inside the protein fibers to keep it from drying out under a commercial heat lamp. And if you think the physical dine-in experience is a letdown, ordering this stuff for delivery through apps like DoorDash or Uber Eats is an absolute logistical tragedy. The moment fried chicken leaves a commercial pressure fryer, it begins aggressively venting steam. If you eat it immediately at a local table, that steam escapes into the dining room, leaving the breading crisp. But the moment a delivery driver seals that cardboard box inside a plastic bag and zips it into an insulated thermal backpack for a 20-minute drive through suburban traffic, that trapped steam condenses. The moisture drops straight back down into the crust, transforming what should be a crunchy coating into a soft, pale, slick, and thoroughly depressing layer of mush. The corporate executives know this delivery degradation is destroying consumer trust, yet they refuse to alter the packaging or the process because the sheer volume of convenience sales is too lucrative to walk away from. You are left paying premium delivery fees and tips for an unappealing product that looks completely unrecognizable compared to the glossy, airbrushed advertisements on your phone screen. The ultimate culprit behind this systemic decline is the fast food franchise model itself. The parent corporation owns the trademark, dictates the rules, and takes a massive, non-negotiable cut of every single sale via royalty and marketing fees. The actual human being who pays the soaring commercial electric bills, the skyrocketing local property rents, and the hourly wages of the staff is a local franchise owner. Over the last few years, as ingredient costs and labor pressures squeezed these operators from every single angle, they reached a breaking point. When an operator cannot raise prices any higher without completely alienating the neighborhood, They start quietly cutting corners where the customer might not immediately notice. They keep cooked chicken sitting under the heated holding cabinets long past the official quality expiration window, turning the meat dry, stringy, and structural cardboard. They run their Friday night kitchen shifts short-staffed, forcing 5 underpaid workers to do the job of 9. This is exactly why you can drive past one location and get a decent meal, then drive 5 miles down the highway to a different location with the exact same logo and receive absolute garbage. It is not a unified company serving you. It is a chaotic web of financially stressed local operators trying to survive a corporate system that extracts profits while leaving the consumer with a lukewarm, overpriced box of waterlogged breading. And now, what it was worth watching all the way through for. We have spent enough time digging through the corporate wreckage of hyper-processed, waterlogged bird operations. It is time to talk about the relief that comes when you stop letting national fast food conglomerates insult your intelligence and start putting your money where the quality actually matches the marketing. You do not have to live with soggy, steam-ruined crust or pay premium restaurant prices for engineered industrial brine. There are places where actual culinary standards, consistency, and proper culinary technique still exist right here on American soil. Available on your everyday grocery runs or local avenues, the first massive step upward completely bypasses the traditional drive-through window altogether and takes you straight to the local supermarket deli counter. Specifically, if you live anywhere near a Publix supermarket, you already know about the absolute cult following surrounding their deli counter fried chicken. What started as a regional southern grocery staple has become a benchmark that puts major fast food conglomerates to absolute shame. Publix does not treat their hot bar chicken like an afterthought. They utilize a distinct double breading method that ensures an incredibly textured, pebbly, and genuinely crispy exterior that seals the natural juices inside the protein instead of relying on industrial phosphates to hold onto tap water. When you bite into an 8-piece box pulled straight from their hot station, you immediately notice a distinct savory depth built on a foundation of actual wheat flour, black pepper, garlic, onion powder, and natural spices like paprika and turmeric for color, rather than a reliance on pure chemistry. Food critics at major publications like Atlanta Magazine have run blind taste tests stacking this supermarket bird against major national fast food chains, and the results are consistently unanimous. The grocery store bird completely outclasses the competition. The cost is the ultimate victory here. While a fast food bucket crawls toward $30, a full 8-piece box at a standard Publix deli counter remains incredibly accessible, usually landing at under $10 to $12. That brings your cost per serving down to an incredibly reasonable $3 to $4. The only real downside is availability. If you do not live in the Southeast, you are out of luck. And during the peak 5 p.m. dinner rush, the local line can wrap completely around the bakery section. But if you have access to it, this is the ultimate budget-friendly, high-quality family meal solution. Chowhound to show one if you are looking for a true, dedicated quick-service option with massive nationwide availability, you look directly toward Raising Cane's. This brand has completely disrupted the quick-service landscape, recording massive double-digit year-over-year growth that leaves old-school brands scrambling. Their entire philosophy is built on doing exactly one thing with absolute unyielding consistency: chicken tenders. While corporate giants add immense operational complexity to their kitchens by forcing understaffed crews to act as baristas making iced lattes and boba teas during a Friday night rush, Raising Cane's keeps their kitchen workflow incredibly focused. Because their menu is essentially limited to tenders, crinkle-cut fries, Texas toast, coleslaw, and their signature sauce, the line moves with military precision. Their tenders are never frozen, always marinated for over 24 hours to ensure a tender, juicy interior, and are hand-battered and fried to order. When you pull open a box combo, the steam escaping tells you it was fried minutes ago, not sitting under a commercial heat lamp for an hour stretching its shelf life. The texture is consistently light and crisp, completely avoiding that thick, rock-hard, greasy batter that cuts up the roof of your mouth. In terms of price, a standard combo lands right around $11 to $13, which is incredibly competitive given that you are receiving premium, whole muscle white meat tenders that have not been ground up, reshaped, or bloated with excess water fillers. The transparency is confirmed by independent consumer satisfaction metrics like the American Customer Satisfaction Index, where Cane's consistently ranks near the absolute top of the entire fast food category. The downside? If you are a fan of traditional bone-in drumsticks or thighs, or if you want a massive variety of side dishes, you will not find them here. But for pure consistency and reliability across hundreds of American locations, they are nearly unbeatable. For the absolute peak of mainstream quick-service quality, look no further than Jollibee, which has exploded across major U.S. metropolitan hubs from California to New York. In the 2025 and 2026 USA Today 10 Best Reader's Choice Awards, Jollibee's signature Chicken Joy claimed the coveted #1 spot as the best fast food fried chicken in America, completely dethroning traditional heavyweight chains. The secret behind Jollibee's meteoric rise is an absolute refusal to cut corners on the baseline product. Their chicken pieces are noticeably larger, meatier, and completely avoid the rubbery texture of hyper-accelerated industrial broilers. Every piece is hand-battered to produce an incredibly delicate, shatteringly crisp crust that acts as a perfect barrier, locking in a level of natural juiciness that causes actual flavor to drip down your chin. It is paired with a rich, velvety, savory gravy that elevates the entire experience into something resembling a sit-down comfort meal rather than a sad dashboard dinner. A family bucket here runs slightly higher than a grocery store counter, averaging around $22 to $26, but every single cent is justified by the sheer volume of actual meat and culinary execution. It is the perfect option for anyone who wants an authentic, premium bone-in fried chicken experience without stepping foot inside a traditional sit-down restaurant. Now that you know exactly where to find the real quality, we need to talk about how you protect your wallet and your palate the next time you are standing in a standard American grocery aisle or looking at a fast food menu board. You do not need to rely blindly on national advertisements to tell you what tastes good. By arming yourself with a few concrete visual and text clues, you can spot the corporate shortcuts instantly before handing over your credit card. First, when you are browsing the fresh or frozen poultry section at major grocers like Kroger, Safeway, or Target, look specifically for a label that states air-chilled. Most mass-market commercial poultry is water-chilled in giant communal vats, which forces the meat to absorb up to 8 to 12% of its total weight in chlorinated wastewater. Air-chilled birds, like those sold by Smart Chicken or Bell & Evans, are cooled using blasts of cold air, meaning you are paying for actual muscle meat. And the crust will fry up shatteringly crisp instead of releasing a pool of hidden moisture into your hot oil. Second, flip the package over and scan the ingredient statement for the phrase sodium phosphate or potassium phosphate. If you spot these chemical binders on a package of raw or pre-cooked chicken breasts at Walmart or Aldi, drop it back on the shelf immediately. This is the ultimate industry red flag, indicating the meat has been pumped full of a heavy brine solution specifically designed to chemically lock in cheap water weight and artificially inflate the price at the register. Third, pay close attention to the raw texture of the meat on display. If you see deep, distinct horizontal white lines running parallel across the chicken breast muscle, a structural defect known as white striping, or if the meat looks unusually pale, glossy, and hard, you are looking at a bird that was forced to grow too fast on an industrial factory farm. That meat will possess a rubbery, stringy texture once cooked, no matter how much seasoning or marinade you throw at it. Fourth, if you are buying hot, ready-to-eat chicken from a local grocery hot bar like Whole Foods or H-E-B, ask the counter staff about the holding window time. A quality piece of fried chicken should never spend more than 20 to 30 minutes inside a humid, enclosed holding cabinet. If the batter looks dark, wet, and slick, or if the skin is pulling away from the bone in a greasy sheet, that bird has been languishing under a heat lamp for hours to avoid a corporate waste metric. Fifth, when ordering quick-service chicken via mobile apps, look for brands that explicitly guarantee hand-battered and made to order. If a fast food joint cannot or will not promise that their food is fried fresh upon receipt of the order, it means you are paying premium prices for pre-cooked. Pre-frozen chicken patties or tenders that are simply dropped back into hot oil to reheat, destroying the natural moisture of the protein. Ultimately, the entire modern fast food industry is structured around a single cynical calculation. Corporate executives believe that if they inject enough salt, monosodium glutamate, and engineered moisture into a substandard, hyper-accelerated piece of meat, the human brain will remain too distracted by the immediate flavor explosion to notice that the structural substance of the food has completely vanished. They are banking on your nostalgia and your desire for sheer convenience to keep driving you through those drive-through lanes. But the moment you shift your thinking and realize that true value isn't defined by the size of a corporate marketing budget, but by the integrity of the supply chain and the freshness of the kitchen execution, you stop being a passive victim of industrial food manipulation. You hold the ultimate power because corporate giants only improve their baseline standards when ordinary consumers vote with their wallets and leave those empty drive-through lanes completely abandoned. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this entire investigation. This channel stays completely independent and completely unsponsored because people like you are willing to push back against corporate deception. Do me a massive favor and share this video right now with a friend or a family member who still insists on buying those overpriced, soggy fast food buckets every single weekend. Let us get an active discussion going down in the comment section below. Which of these major fast food or grocery store chicken brands is sitting inside your kitchen or your local neighborhood right now? And have you noticed the quality dipping? If you want to see exactly how deep the corporate rabbit hole goes in the rest of your grocery store, check out our deep dive expose on the hidden additives inside mass market supermarket bread brands linked right on your screen. Until next time, stay incredibly sharp, stay healthily skeptical, and protect your plate.